Hi, I'm Kathy Zalewski with Realty One Group Peak in Bozeman.
And I'm Kaila Henry, also at Realty One Group Peak.
So this is maybe episode 4-ish, and we're doing a longer format to dig deeper into the different types of homes that a buyer might consider. Basically condos, townhomes, or single-family homes, regular freestanding single-family homes. So Kaila, I'm going to let you lead a little bit because you live currently in a townhome situation. So what do you think the biggest benefits of that are?
So my favorite thing about our townhome is that it lives and financed like a single family home. So we own the exterior of the house, the roof, the siding, we have a fenced backyard. And so it feels like we own a little bit more than just a condo. That obviously comes with more maintenance. So we are responsible for our own landscaping, mowing. Whenever we need to repaint the exterior of the home, that will be on us. An HOA will not take care of that for us. Same thing with replacing the roof. But I really enjoy owning a little bit more and again having a little more space for our dog to run around in the backyard.
So when you say you're responsible for the paint and the roof and so forth, all those things are dictated by a governing body.
Correct. So for a condo, you would typically have your condominium homeowners association. And in that, there'll be a set of bylaws, CC&Rs, that will dictate what is considered common space. So typically for a condo, it's going to be anything from the studs in is going to be your responsibility as the homeowner. But anything studs out, so the siding again, sometimes the insulation in the attic, again, depends on some of the specific wording in your CC&Rs. That will be considered common space. So again, part of the whole association to take care of because everybody benefits from it. So can feel a little complicated at first, but it is, I would say, relatively simple in that for a condominium, you, again, those HOA dues, you are paying for something, right? If it's managed correctly, part of those monthly dues are going into a reserves account so that when the whole complex needs a new roof, you guys have the funds set aside to handle those repairs. Occasionally they will have to do a special assessment where you pay a little bit additional every month if it ends up costing more than it would have. And that's in a condo association, yes.
And that would be different than in a townhome association. The governing body handles more maybe common areas. If your townhome development has maybe a park or something like that.
And so for me, I live in a townhome that is in the West Wind subdivision. And so we don't actually, our townhome, we're part of a fourplex in there. We don't actually have a homeowners association associated with that fourplex that we live in. We are only subject to the West Winds HOA, so your subdivision HOA. So again, if you're looking at condos, and it can vary from condos to townhomes, where they're located, it can, again, can be a little complicated. Occasionally you can have two homeowners association dues. So you could have your condominium homeowners association and then your subdivision homeowners association. So really important to understand sometimes the possible layers that can be associated with a certain property.
So I feel like a condo is good for somebody that doesn't want to be tied to exterior maintenance or lawn mowing or any of that kind of stuff. They want the property outside of their interior walls to be taken care of by somebody else. And they will likely pay a higher condo association fee to have that luxury. So you're paying for somebody to do it for you. That makes sense, right?
And I think still a condo, and I will say specifically for our market, it can be a great option for a wide variety of buyers, right? So in Bozeman, to me, it's where our market starts, right? We are a higher market. And so a lot of first-time home buyers are getting into a condo, and that's because the price point can be lower in certain areas. And that's a great place to start. It's
but
also
then when
really,
you want to have a dog, start looking at a different type of home, right? Condos usually don't come with any type of property or yard. It's all common because it's cared for by that money that you pay. Whereas a townhome, you might likely have a fenced yard, but then you're responsible for it, mowing it or keeping it.
And I think, again, jumping back to the first-time home buyer, it's a really approachable way to start learning how to care for a home because you're just responsible for less. So a nice way to, again, start to build some understanding because you are responsible for the interior, but you don't have to be wondering about, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Yeah, I guess
Roof or
paying attention to your roof, drainage, lighting, just kind of paying attention to everything going on out there. So again, can apply to a lot of people still. I think can work really well for folks who want a second home or are looking for just a really lock and leave situation. Only is also, you really
My
can.
face is going, oh. But I'm thinking about in some condo associations, for example, we are actually filming in a condo today that is a listing of one of our colleagues. And
in Bridger Creek.
Yep. And I'm looking around, and this was probably built in what, 2020, maybe
I would
older.
say later 90s.
So,
like
hey, we've got 30-year-old windows. So who pays for the windows? That would be something that sometimes they come up with a big assessment. The association will likely tell you what type of windows specifically that you can buy to replace, if it is in fact your responsibility, and that's likely something that would have been written into the condo docs.
Correct.
So you would want to check that out if you're buying an older condo and find out, oh boy, I'm responsible for the windows. Well, then it becomes,
how are they doing?
Right.
Let's
it
pay
becomes
attention
more
to those.
important if they're good windows or not. So those are the kinds of things that don't make it buying a condo more difficult. It's just things that you want to check on that you might not assume. And because each condo or a townhome, it can be different. So just because, oh, well, at that condo, the windows were included, don't assume that if you're making an offer on a different condo.
It's really important to me to, again, understand what you're buying. And that to me is another really big piece of your due diligence or inspection period.
Mhm.
That to me is the time when you do really want to dig into reading the covenants, CC&Rs, and everything that is associated with your unit, so that you have a really good understanding of, can I have dogs? Occasionally you'll have condos that only allow you to have 2 50-pound and under dogs. So if you're a big dog person like Kathy, you don't want to buy a house like that. Even if you are looking for less maintenance eventually, you want to really make sure that you understand what the governing rules are, because understanding they're really hard to change. So I know that's something that's going through my subdivision, is that some people don't love everything that was written into them. Well, you have to have a certain amount of votes from everybody. And I'll tell you what, getting people to engage with the HOA, nearly impossible. Nobody really cares except for when, of course, it's directly affecting them. So just, again, understanding what it is. One of my personal pet peeves is we are supposed to have our trash cans in our garages. We don't do that. We like to keep our trash cans outside, because I like to park 2 cars in the garage with our skis and our bikes. So it's pretty full in there. Something that we just are trying to figure out and work through. So again, really important to understand you are buying in a place where there can be rules and regulations. And I know a lot of people don't love that, but they're really hard. It's often harder to find subdivisions these days that don't have covenants. Even in an area like Montana, it's pretty common to have an HOA.
I think that definitely common to have an HOA. I think when it comes down to it, it really, how you want to use your property is usually the deciding factor in what type of property you want to buy. Mm-hmm. Are you buying this as a vacation property where you're just coming and this is your stop between the airport and spending all every day at Big Sky, and so you just need a walls and heat and maybe a garage to keep your ski equipment in?
Right. No maintenance, right? Really easy.
You're not worried about even paying a landscaper. It's all automatic, right? I think that some things to note are, while condos are in general in Bozeman where people start their home ownership, people often get surprised, oh, I'm approved up to 450, but because of the association fees related to condos, which are generally higher than single family homes that may also have HOAs, but you're responsible for more of your property, so the HOA fee is lower. That really eats into your buying power. So let's say, whatever, 425, you're approved up to 425. Well, was that for a condo or was that for a single family? Well, that depends. If your condo fees are $500 a month, then that will likely mean that you're not really approved to 425. You're probably approved to 375, because that $500 a month comes, it looks like it's part of your mortgage. So that's something to consider when you're purchasing. One of the other things that people do consider in terms of condos or any place with bigger HOA fees like that is that they don't go down. They only go up. So if you're maxing out what you're comfortable with, you can count on that going up. Your mortgage payment will stay the same, but the HOA fees are likely to go up. And how quickly or how often they go up is not in your control. So that's something else to pay attention to.
It is. And I think something, just to touch on condos a little bit more, something that I've seen new in the Bozeman market, again, it's been a thing for a while, but primarily over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen our condo market, again, used to be more of an entry level. I would say now you can find condos in Bozeman on all levels, from, again, your $315,000 starter condos all the way up to multi-million-dollar condos for luxury downtown living or living up at the ski hill, Bridger, or Big Sky. Lots of different, there's a wide range now for that condo market. So again, nice to have some options, but it is very different than what it used to be. So just understanding you can find condominiums at each price point, depending on what you're looking for in your property and in your lifestyle.
Right. And on the upside again of some of those fees, sometimes I had a condo on the market this summer where the condo fee actually, or association fee, actually included water and garbage, which so that city water, city sewer, and your garbage were included in your condo fee. And sometimes they do that because, let's say there is a lot of green space, they don't want people shutting off their sprinklers because they want a lower water bill. They want everything to be green and nice. So that's why they just wrap it into one big thing.
And again, speaking very personally, in our townhome, our city bill, which again has recycling, city services, so water and sewer, it's around $100 a month. So if that's baked into an HOA fee and the HOA fee is $300, that feels very reasonable to me because we would already be paying that regardless.
And a lender will take that into account. So while I said it can affect your buying power, some of those things the lender can give credit for. So that might help you out a little bit too. So of course, on the other side, Kaila, away from community living,
Shared walls,
right? There's also single family home ownership. And as we mentioned, most subdivisions where you're going to find single family homes in city limits and even outside city limits do still have an HOA. And that is largely to maintain the aesthetics of the neighborhood, including any public park areas, because park equipment gets ruined. You need to replace the park equipment.
Roads need to be maintained. Right. Trees, if you've got boulevard trees.
Even the mailboxes, or in our subdivision, they have little dog areas, dog poop bags and stuff, which I appreciate.
Which is great.
So all of that stuff gets maintained and you pay in. A lot of my subdivision has 350 homes? Yep. A lot of homes. So everybody's fee is very little. Now the HOA does not shovel my sidewalk. They're not going to paint the outside of my house, but they also aren't telling me whether I can have a hot tub or not. And they're not telling me how many dogs I can have. And they're not telling me what kind of fence I can put around my property. I get some latitude to be able to use my property the way I want. And that's not to say that you can't use the property the way you want in a condo or townhome, but I have a lot more flexibility, and that's part of the benefit of a single family home.
Just understanding what are your rules and regulations that you need to follow in your subdivision. I think something in our area, Bozeman's been around for a while, so you'll see that some of the older subdivisions have looser covenants. That is typical, obviously, as things grow on. People tend to make more and more rules usually. So again, depending on what you're looking for, adjusting some expectations with, well, maybe you want to really consider purchasing a home in the 90s because it falls under covenants and subdivision that more align with how you'd like to use the property. The home might need quite a bit of work, but you might be okay with taking that on so that you can do the work yourself and live in an area that has, again, some of the more loose things that you'd like to work with.
I think probably true everywhere, but really true in Montana is your lifestyle will really dictate the type of home you want to live in. So there's a lot of people that camp, right? And they have giant fifth wheel trailers. Well, in some areas, there's no room for it. In some areas, they don't allow you to park your fifth wheel trailer on your property. Some areas, they might allow you to park it on your property, but it has to be behind a fence that covers it. Well, that could be a 12-foot fence. There's things like that to consider. If you have snowmobiles, if you have TVs of any variety.
Dirt bikes.
Right.
Lots of mountain bikes.
If you've got 4 children that all have their own vehicles and they all live at home, is there on-street parking allowed in your subdivision? These are all things that while they lean more towards CC&Rs and so forth, it does dictate a lot about
jazzy.
It does dictate a lot about how you're able to use your property, and the lifestyle choice will dictate a little bit about what type of house is best for you.
And so again, as you're starting your home search, do try and think about your lifestyle. I think sometimes it's easy for people to be like, well, anything can work. We'll just make it happen. Be really realistic about that because you are buying a place. Real estate is often a longer term hold. So really being comfortable with thinking through some things and then thinking, hey, in the future, are we hoping to be able to purchase a trailer or a camper at some point? How would that work at this property? I think that's one of the best things you can do is to pre-think a little bit about, again, your lifestyle, because your home is really what the grounding, rooting part of your lifestyle. It's where your home base is.
And no matter what you choose, condo, townhome, single family, ranch, whatever, I always recommend that my buyers do a drive-by or 8 at all times of day or night. Is this association close to MSU? Does that mean there's a lot of students in here. That's great for students or people maybe freshly graduated from college, but not awesome for my 89-year-old mother. But a condo is still probably the right thing for my 89-year-old mom, just not there. And if you're a single family home, same deal.
See what the traffic's like at 5 p.m. driving from where you work to your home, right? I think, or your new potential home. I think it's always a good idea to just do that research and due diligence over that. Again, typically 2-week time frame. So again, there is a timing piece to it where you do need to commit to paying attention to what's going on at the home. But it'll be well worth it.
I also think it's like we're in Montana, right? And so on-street parking doesn't sound like that big of a deal if you're from Arizona. But on-street parking in the middle of winter when it snowed 24 inches the night before ends up being a real big deal. So it is important to pay attention to.
It's all those small things where if all of a sudden you can't park outside of your condo at 8 p.m. when you're getting home, you have to park around the street and then you're walking with groceries and it's icy. That maybe want to consider that, or just at least we want you to understand and we want you to know, right? We want you to feel informed, and we like to minimize surprises as best as possible.
And I think for you as a buyer, definitely lifestyle choices are a big thing. Are you a musician? Do you like to play your drums at all hours of the day and night? Well, life is not for you. And you might have to be patient or choose something in perhaps Belgrade that's more affordable than Livingston, something like that. But if these are things that you're committed to in how you live your life, then that might change your choices in terms of home. But overall, there's still a lot of choices.
There's lots of choices, and people ask me what's the best, and I always say, well, that's all obviously up to you. You get to be the decider on what will fit you best, and then my job is to help you find it, secure it, and close on it.
So either Kaila or I can help you do that. Please subscribe and like our channel. And certainly if you've got any questions, you can always put them in the comments and we'll look for those and get back to you. I think our next part of the buyer series is going to be something towards inspections, perhaps. Thanks so much.
Or making an offer.
Or
maybe making an offer is next. We'll just check in and we'll see.
Thank you.